Tropical Cyclone Alfred stalled in its movement overnight and is now expected to take a slower track as it moves towards the east coast of Australia. At this stage, it is expected to cross the coast late on Friday night or into early Saturday morning. However, regardless of the exact crossing time, significant impacts are expected well ahead of this. Let's jump straight in and have a look at the latest track map. And as of Thursday morning, Tropical Cyclone Alfred is a Category 2 system around 300 kilometres to the east of Brisbane, so it hasn't moved all too much overnight. We still have that tropical cyclone warning current all the way from Double Island Point in the north through the Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, the Gold Coast and the Northern Rivers all the way down towards Grafton. For the rest of Thursday, we will continue to see Tropical Cyclone Alfred moving west and towards the southeast Queensland coast and northeast New South Wales. But into Friday, it does become very slow moving and may even stall just off the coast of Brisbane as a Category 2 system. At this stage, it is expected to cross the coast somewhere between Coolangatta and Maroochydore on the Sunshine Coast, and that is expected to take place late on Friday or into early Saturday morning. The track map shows it is expected to cross the coast as a Category 2 system, but the final category will depend on how the tropical cyclone interacts with the shallow waters and also the mountains topography across southeast Queensland. But of course, regardless of the final category at crossing, significant and severe impacts are expected. Then heading into Saturday, we are expecting to see Tropical Cyclone Alfred being downgraded to a Category 1 system over land and continue moving over southern inland parts of Queensland over the weekend as a tropical low. And we are forecasting to see those impacts continuing all the way through the weekend, particularly with that delayed landfall. So this tropical cyclone is sitting off the coast, but we're already seeing the western edge impacting the coast. And we have seen some very heavy rainfall about southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales overnight. In New South Wales, in 24 hours to 9 a.m. New South Wales time, we have seen rainfall totals in excess of 200 millimetres from the mid-north coast and up into the northern rivers. And for southeast Queensland to 8 a.m, we have seen isolated falls about the hinterland and the scenic rim of in excess of 100 millimetres. And this is actually wetting the ground before we see the worst of the rainfall come in. We've also seen those strong winds, gale force to locally damaging winds for both New South Wales and Queensland, reaching in excess of 90 kilometres an hour in some of those exposed coastal locations. And we've also seen huge waves. We have seen a wave in excess of 12 metres being recorded off the Gold Coast and in excess of 15 metres offshore of Tweed Heads. So we are seeing these significant impacts even outside the TC warning zone. So we do have that severe weather warning that extends all the way from Gympie and down towards the mid-north coast in New South Wales. Damaging to destructive winds will really start to intensify into Thursday night on Friday, and this can cause significant damage to property and trees, especially as they are over a long period of time. Heavy to intense rainfall will also intensify into Thursday and Friday. We will start to see those 6-hourly totals approaching in excess of 200 millimetres, and 24-hour totals may even reach up to 400 millimetres, particularly about the northern rivers of New South Wales and some of the elevated terrain. Also, we do have that coastal hazards warning extending all the way from K'gari, Fraser Island, down towards Forster on the mid-north coast. That is for continuing powerful and damaging surf pushing onto the coast, leading to significant coastal erosion. And those impacts may be exacerbated during the high tide times. And of course, we are expecting still that storm surge to come in as the system starts to approach the coast. Finally, we do have that flood watch current for both southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales. Still expecting to see widespread moderate to major flooding, but now that the ground is very wet across New South Wales, that will be a particular concern. With the tropical cyclone stalling, we will see more rainfall building along the New South Wales coast before the system actually hits. And so there is definitely concern for the mid-north coast and northern rivers communities of New South Wales. So do remind communities to keep up to date with the latest flood information. And so the tropical cyclone is expected to be quite slow moving and even stall off the coast. So what does that mean? First, let's have a look at the waves and swell. With the tropical cyclone taking a little bit longer to move towards the coast, we will see a prolonged period of large swell and heavy and damaging surf right along the coast. And this will mean we'll continue to see that very significant coastal erosion as well as local inundation of some of those low-lying areas right up until Friday and before the crossing even takes place. In addition to that, we're also expecting to see heavy rainfall continuing on the southern flank of the system, especially around New South Wales. Of course, we have already seen in excess of 200 millimetres, and that will continue all the way into when the cyclone does actually move across the coast. And the heaviest totals will depend on exactly where it does cross the coast and when. The longer we do see the system staying over the water, it does mean there's more time for these rainfall totals to build and push onto the coast. And so in terms of the rainfall figures, we are still expecting to see those accumulated rainfall totals of between 400 to 800 millimeters, but high isolated falls are possible, as you've seen, depending on how that system does move and how quickly or slowly it does move towards the coast. So with the track map of Tropical Cyclone Alfred changing, we are now expecting coastal crossing late on Friday into early Saturday morning. It is imperative that you stay up to date with the latest information and warnings from the Bureau on our website, app, follow us on social media, and as always, follow all advice in local emergency services.